Rabbi Ribacoff, how would you deal with this question? If the husband says, how am I supposed to get some respect if there's no fear?
I think a lot of the words of the Rambam are interrelated. It's very interesting how the guys always pick up on the fact that I need to be treated as a king, and they want to make sure that they get treated as a king. I think the main thing that the Rambam is bringing down is that the men should concentrate on what their responsibilities are towards the wives, and the women should be concentrating on their responsibilities towards their husband, and not always double checking, are you doing what you're supposed to be doing, and make sure everything is okay that way. There is a story of a rabbi who taught Khatanim. He taught the guys before they got married, and he came across teaching the Khatanim this Rambam as well. And one time he had, one of the Bachrim was a younger light, and after a couple of months he decided to visit the Khatan to see how he's doing in his house. And when you're living a Kol life, you're not living in the lap of luxury. Simple, but they're getting along. And he comes to the guy's house and he sees, he's got the basic furniture, but at the head of the table there's this ornate chair, fit for a king. And he asked the guy, Mazeh, what is this? And he says, Rabbi, you taught us that the wife has to treat her husband like a sar, like a melech, like a king. So I made sure we bought a king's chair so that whenever I sit on it, my wife will remember that I'm the king and she has to give me the respect. The rabbi was a little bit taken aback, and he explained to the Talmud, to his student, that's not what it means. He brought the example from Balak at the time when Bnei Israel were coming, and they got scared what's going to happen with them, and Balak started to do something, and then afterwards it says that Balak was the king of Moab at the time. And the rabbi asked the question, it doesn't mention that he was a king beforehand. He just saw what was going on, and he decided to do something. He got the people all riled up, and then they crowned him as the king, and that's how he became, and he earned the title of being a king at the time. He explained that it's not automatic that you become a king because you're sitting on the chair. That doesn't make you a king. There's a difference between a king and a dictator. A king is one who cares about his subjects. He cares about his countrymen. He cares about everything in the household. If you're the king, your wife is the queen, the children are the princes and the princesses, and they're the ones you need to make sure you're taken care of. Ezu mechubad hamechabed et haberiyot. You want to get kavod, you want to get respect, you want people to teach you, to give you respect, you have to give them respect first. It doesn't come automatically, and you can't demand it from them. If you act and behave properly as a king is supposed to act and behave, you're going to get the respect from your queen, from your wife, and from the children, from your subjects that you have in your country. If you're going to act like a dictator and rule with an iron fist, they're going to hate you, and your kingdom is not going to last for a long time. Just to get back, we mentioned before, I think Rabbi Ruta mentioned that the word kavod comes to the word kaved, being heavy. I want to touch it up a little bit differently. The word kavod is the same gematria as the word lev, 32. Why? Because respect comes from the heart. And the example that's given, Rav Shimshon Master Poli brings down a beautiful example from the Megillah of what it is to treat each other as a king and a queen. He brings down the story when Esther was fasting and she wanted to come and greet the king Achashverosh. This is the last chance. How can I go? I wasn't called. What's going to be? Take the chance. Mordechai says, this is why you became the queen. And when she came in to see Achashverosh, it says that Achashverosh gave her out. He pointed to her the scepter that he had in his hand. And it says that Esther came and she touched the tip of the scepter. So Shimon Masapoli asks the question, why does it have to mention the extra words that he gave? He stretched out the scepter that was in his hand. Where was it? It had to be in his hand. How did he stretch it out to her? And why did he have to mention that she actually touched the tip of the scepter? So he explains that Achashverosh, when he saw Esther, he was so enthralled by her beauty. She has such a chen, and he loved her so much, he said, it's not appropriate for me as the king to stretch out to my queen the scepter that I give to everybody else to touch. Instead, he turned it over and he stretched out to her the part that he holds in his own hand to give to the queen. Because you're my queen, you deserve to touch the part that I touch, not that everybody else touches. And Esther was so taken aback by that show of respect and love for her. And she said, this is the king. How can I touch the place that the king holds in his hand? And she actually went and touched the tip of the scepter like everybody else does. As an example, Achashverosh is a goy. as a non-Jew, and Esther as the Jew, but the respect that we see from each other that they gave as the king and the queen to show the respect for each other. The kavod comes from the live, from the heart. And if the couple is willing to do that, to treat each other with that type of respect, hopefully they'll have wonderful shalom bayit between themselves.
Oh man, it's the answer I didn't want to hear. We got to earn the respect.